Well, hello once again. This is going to be what we'll call one of our first re-restorations of the Hot Wheels Sweet 16. This is the 68 Custom Barracuda. And as you can tell, it's in dire need of a re-restoration. It looks horrible. I originally painted this for my grandson. It was supposed to be Spectraflame purple, but in reality it's just purple. When I received this casting, it was actually aqua. I thought about repainting it aqua to its original form, but I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to paint it purple either. A lot of the restorations that are going to be coming up are going to be blue or aqua, so I do need to change it up a bit. This casting was available in a variety of colors, and aqua was actually one of the very common ones. If you'd like to research for yourself, you can go to the online redlineguide.com and find all the facts out about this particular casting. They're not a sponsor, it's just where I get all my information. Now, the Hot Wheels 68 Custom Barracuda was actually based off the real-life 67 Barracuda Fastback. And like most of the Redlines, these were produced in Hong Kong as well as US factories. The Hong Kong version actually features a blue-tinted windscreen, such as our example. And also, one interesting fact that I thought, the Hong Kong version has a much more detailed base than the US version, which many times that's the exact opposite. Also, the Hong Kong version actually has a more detailed interior. Not exactly more detailed, but better in my opinion. The steering wheel on the US version is actually part of the interior. It's all molded into one piece. The Hong Kong version actually has a separate steering wheel, which I also thought was kind of interesting. And there are some other differences. If you'd like to research those, feel free to do so. I've included them on this actual video, so you can take a look at them and pause them if you feel the need to do so. And as I already mentioned, we're not going to paint this casting the original aqua, nor are we going to paint it the purple that I did on the first restoration. I am going to choose a color that was available originally on this casting, but it will be one of the more rare colors. And we'll get to that in just a bit. One final close look at this beaut. And I say that sarcastically. Ugh. In my defense, this was one of my earlier Redline restorations, and I don't believe I was quite on board with how the Spectraflame paint actually worked. I'm going to proceed with just ripping this apart. And no sound here, because as you guessed it, the wife was doing laundry once again. To remove that paint nice and quickly, I'm going to toss it into our jar of aircraft stripper. And within seconds, the purple paint is just melting off. Next, I'll throw in some gloves and give it a good wash in the parts washer. Pretty soon, the stripping jar will look like a rainbow. Now, in this shot, the body does not look that bad, but I can assure you this is one of the worst Redlines I've ever dealt with. As far as pitting, the plating's still there, but the pitting is horrible. So I take some 4-aught, try to clean it up. And again, on this angle, it doesn't look too bad, but looks can be deceiving. So I decide to zinc plate 4 times. In between platings, I rub it down with some 4-aught steel wool. This is the final plating. And we're taking that 4-aught steel wool once again and just cleaning it up. Now it does help, but it's far from good. I changed the lighting and some camera settings to give you a better idea of the kind of damage we're looking at. At this point, I'm not going to attempt to clean it up any further. I'm going to take my mother's polish and just polish up the casting. Or you might call this polishing up a turd. And looking back on it, this may be the reason why I applied so much of that purple Spectraflame, to hide some of those imperfections. And speaking of the Spectraflame, I've seen a few comments where restorers have mentioned the fact that they're getting spots in their Spectraflame paint. This is more than likely due to pitting. You can get dark spots where the paint just lays in the pit. You can actually have voids where you don't get paint applied at all. I've seen both of those things happen. Now for the color. We're going to use olive. 2 reasons. I really like the olive color, and this happens to be a very rare color for this casting. I have to clean up the base. I never cleaned up the base on the original restorations. I told you this was definitely a hack job. We drop it in our heavy-duty acid cleaner. It's mixed 50-50 water. I will include an Amazon link to this cleaner, but you should be able to pick it up at any local hardware store. We leave it in there for about 1.5 minutes, and then we just wipe off the scum. There are much safer ways of doing this that may take a little bit longer, and I'm sure if you watch any of the other restoration channels, you'll find a way that suits you best. I'm going to take a small wire wheel and clean up the base. All this really does is give it a nice polish and makes it look brand new or even better than new. Now this Barracuda does have paint on the grill, and we're removing that paint with the wire brush. Oddly enough, the acid cleaner does not remove the paint. It also doesn't seem to affect plastic too much. Nice and shiny. I reinstalled the axles and wheels onto the base off camera, but before doing so I need to repaint the grill, and we're just using a ultra fine tip Sharpie. We also use red for the taillight, which I never did originally. I had to make this interesting, so after I painted it, it fell on the floor. What a mess. Time to start over. We need to clean the interior, because yet again is one other thing I failed to do on the original restoration. I'm not sure exactly what I was thinking, but it's nice and clean now. And there's that Hong Kong steering wheel I was talking about. Once I repainted the vehicle, it's time to reassemble. We start off with the windshield, which is a little tricky. You actually have to kind of clip it in the front, push down the back, follow it up with the interior, and then last, but certainly not least, because it's the best part, I will reinstall the base using the screws. Since I've already threaded them, I might as well. You can certainly use rivets even after you've tapped the post for screws. There's no problems at all. And at last, it's complete. Hopefully for at least a few years now. Once the little guy gets a hold of it, it's hard to tell what will happen. This Spectraflame paint is fairly resistant, so I'm not too worried about it. And I can always re-restore it a third time. And as you can tell, the pitting has won the battle. On this left-hand side, you can see it very present at the top when it gets on certain angles. It's obviously on the roof. It's on the right-hand side as well. Again, mostly at the top of the door and the quarter panels. It's on the hood, mostly on the left-hand side, but the pitting is everywhere, and the zinc plating did not help. The only way around this would be to paint it with a primer, and then use some of the Redline shop's base coat, and then Spectraflame over that, which we may do eventually. But all in all, it's a far cry from the purple people eater that I originally created. Of course, I don't think the purple looks bad, and it held up really well to a lot of play. The grandson played with this one quite a bit. But the Spectraflame was not intended to be like a cover-up paint, as I used it in this example. I'd like to take this time to thank my top patrons, which are Rob from Matchbox Garage, Mark Kidd, and Corbin Toll. Also, if you see any of the tools that I use in this video that you'd like to purchase for yourself, check out the Amazon links. They're located below the video in the description. I have Amazon links to everything that I use within those links, and those are available in the US, Canada, and the UK. If you have any questions or comments, don't hesitate to post those. And as always, thanks for watching.